Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Shred and Soul.
I'm Shred, a.k.a. Kevin Wood.
And I'm Soul, a.k.a. Wind Hughes. Well, today we have an amazing guest, Dr. Alexandra Dexter, who likes to go by Dr. Ali. She's a naturopathic physician at Premier Integrative Clinic here in Santa Rosa, California. And we have an amazing discussion planned for you. All those questions you've had, such as, why am I tired? Why am I depressed? Or why doesn't he or she want to have sex with me anymore? They seem disinterested. What can be going on beneath that? So Dr. Ali is a really warm, wonderful person, and some of our mutual clients, they just love her. And we thought she'd be a wonderful guest and have a lot of information for you.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because, hormones are part of what we're made of, what causes us to act in certain ways, and having problems with your hormones can definitely cause some problems. So yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to her about this.
Yeah, and I think most people don't realize it affects your heart, your digestion, not just your libido. I think that's the one that maybe grabs our attention, or depression. But for men and women, this is an important episode. So stay tuned, and here we go. So here we are with Dr. Alexandra Dexter, who likes to be called Dr. Ali, as she is at Premier Integrative Clinic in Santa Rosa. And we're so excited to have you here, Dr. Ali. Thank you for taking the time in your busy schedule to join us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Well, the topic of hormone replacement therapy is very personal to me and a lot of clients that I work with. And for me, there was a time in my life when I'm a very positive, happy person typically. I don't swing to like radical mood swings, rapid weight gain. And then all of a sudden that changed in my life at one point. I was depressed. I felt immobilized. And Dr. Hoffman, Dr. Justin Hoffman, who was the clinic owner, and my son, saved my life is how I felt about it. I was able to make changes I needed to make, and my health came back, and I was amazed at the difference. So I really know there are a lot of people that need the information you have. And I'm happy that you're here to give it.
Yeah, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm very curious as well about some of the hormone replacement therapies for men. And although I've never needed them, I would imagine as I grow older, I might end up needing them. So, so let's begin.
So can I ask you maybe if you would be willing to start with, because I know a lot of our viewers may not know what a naturopathic physician is and what the difference might be, especially in how they treat hormones. So if you could maybe inform us.
Yeah, it's a full new world over here with naturopathic medicine. And most of the time people haven't been exposed to it unless they've really needed a reason to seek it out. So they don't even know it exists, which is such a shame. But essentially, the kind of basis of naturopathic medicine is root cause medicine. So if you go to your primary care and you come in with a symptom list, a lot of times you're going to leave with a Band-Aid, right? Whether that's a prescription, maybe they'll run some labs if you're lucky, but they're really not looking for the why is this happening. Even some of the symptoms that you just mentioned, Wind, like depression. Here's an antidepressant, not, well, why are we having these mood changes, right? So not only is our goal to really get to the root of things and deal with the why behind the symptoms, but also putting everything head to toe together. So people go to their dermatologist for skin, and they go to their cardiologist for their heart, but no one ever talks to each other, right? And so a lot of times it's all related. For example, we treat gut health and skin stuff clears up, right? But your dermatologist isn't going to treat your gut health. So putting together head to toe, personalized medicine that's getting to the root cause. And also, while we can prescribe things, and we do if needed, it's usually not our first line. So we're using your body's innate ability to heal, to give it the resources it needs, whether that is supplements, nutrients, IV therapy, hormone replacement therapy, rather than just leaving with kind of a Band-Aid that might end up with more symptoms in the long run. So it's kind of the long and short of it. And we really treat everything. We do treat high cholesterol. We treat prediabetes. We treat hormones. We treat mold toxicity. It's our days are different every single day with who we treat and what we do.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much. Maybe in another episode we can touch on some of those too, because there's so much I think you have to offer and can educate our viewers and other folks on the benefits of naturopathic medicine versus allopathic medicine.
Yeah.
One of the things is I was really aware of, and the difference is how things are tested. So if you could maybe describe the difference in, say, hormonal testing in allopathic versus naturopathic medicine.
Yeah. So with hormones, most of the time, your conventional doctor is not going to test them, period. You may get lucky and they'll throw a couple on a lab slip, but it's, I would say 95% of the, mostly women, but also men who come in haven't had their hormones tested. And in fact, they've asked and been denied, which is silly. How do we know how to treat your hormones if we have no idea what their levels are? So I always start with a hormone panel for both men or women. Men, we do some kind of pretty, to me, basic blood work, telling us about your testosterone, your liver enzymes, even estrogen. Believe it or not, men do produce some estrogen, and tell us, for men, blood work does the trick. For women, actually, it's way more accurate to do saliva testing. So we send you home if you come and see me and we're going to start working on hormones. We actually send you home with a saliva kit that you get to do at home, 4 little collections. You spit in a little tube 4 times that day. Depending on if you are still having a period, we will kind of time that at a certain point in your cycle. If you're postmenopausal and not cycling, you can do it any day. But that gives us a really, really accurate view of what your hormones are actually doing at a cellular level. Part of the reason we don't do women's blood hormones and why conventional medicine doesn't is because it's really inaccurate. Our hormones change so much. Yes, throughout the month, obviously, if you're still having a period, but even day to day, like if you got stuck in bad traffic on the way to the lab and you're really, really stressed, your hormones are going to be different than later that night. So hormone blood testing for women, it's okay, but doing a saliva test really tells me what usable hormones are going on, and they're a lot more steady throughout the day.
Well, what you said is exactly what happened to me. Is I started having symptoms, and depression, I think, was the one I noticed, other than not having a lot of energy.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm never in a place in my life at that point where I just felt lethargic and I couldn't do what I needed to do. And so they agreed to do a blood test, and it showed I was fine. And I'd have to argue, I am not fine. This is not my baseline. Something, please. And it wasn't until I used naturopathic medicine I got the help I needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes, even on the saliva testing, there will be borderline levels. Sometimes I will expect, based on somebody's symptoms, that, oh, I was really expecting your estrogen to be low, and it's okay. But with your symptoms, we can still get you on some low dose, right? Like it's all about both. You can have people that feel really wonderful and their saliva hormones are nothing, right? And then vice versa. So it's all about matching the results, but I'm still taking into consideration your symptoms too, because that's really important. And we have some wiggle room. And it's important that we take both into consideration.
Well, I love that it's individualized.
Yes.
It isn't even a hormone that's a standardized amount given anyone. You, in naturopathic medicine, you look, as you said, the levels, and if you use a compounding pharmacy in particular, they can, which they do for me, match my levels exactly. Mm-hmm. It's amazing, and it's a shame that it isn't the mode of treatment for everyone.
I agree. It's not one size fits all. There are some commercially available hormones that are, for some people, that's all they need. And it is a perfect dosing, but for the majority, it's not. And we kind of have to play around. And you're right, use compounding pharmacies that we know and trust to really match the symptoms with the numbers and the person.
So one question that I wanted to ask, because I get confused, the difference between, if I say it correctly, estradiol, and estrogen?
Yeah, estradiol is so estradiol, a lot of women have maybe heard that term thrown around because it's what's in the estradiol patch, which is getting more traction, especially the last couple months, because the FDA removed their scary black box warning. So all of a sudden, women are getting estradiol patches prescribed even from conventional doctors more frequently, which is amazing. Estradiol is a bioidentical form of estrogen. So in the past, there weren't commercially available options that were also kind of widely accepted, meaning oral estrogen was given to menopausal women, it was not estradiol. It was essentially a synthetic form of estrogen, similar, closer. I like to compare it to more of like what's in a birth control pill rather than now what we're giving in an estradiol patch. So it was a synthetic form of estrogen, not estradiol, that women were taking orally. And I got off on a tangent here, but this is really what gave hormone replacement therapy a bad name for many, many years, is this oral estrogen that they did a big study on in the early 2000s. And that stuff is not good. Puts a lot of strain on your liver and kidneys and increases your risk for blood clotting and stroke and cancer. And so all of a sudden, we got catapulted into this hormone replacement therapy is really, really bad and really, really dangerous, all based on a study that wasn't even on bioidentical estrogen. It was on a synthetic form and oral, which is not what I use ever. I take people off of it all the time. Believe it or not, it's still being prescribed, which is scary, and usually doesn't make women feel very good either. So there's not a lot of benefit. Was that even your question?
No, you answered it just fine. It was, what's the difference between estradiol and estrogen? Because I know I take the estradiol, and I've often thought, what am I missing? Is it completely different? Because it used to be estrogen.
Yeah.
So thank you for explaining that, because I know other people have the same question.
Absolutely. And there's also this third form of estrogen called estriol. And this is not in the estradiol patch. It is on your saliva test. When we get those results, it tells me about your estradiol level and also your estriol level. When you're using the estradiol patch, we're not actually replenishing those estriol levels at all. And sometimes this is also a deficit I see when women come in and they're like, listen, I take progesterone, I take my estradiol patch, but it's just not cutting it. What are we missing? And we test them and their estriol is really low. And so the estradiol patch doesn't cover that. So that's another reason why using compounding pharmacy, you can put the estriol into the estradiol cream. So you're getting a little bit of both. And we, kind of formulate the ratio based on your numbers and your symptoms. And a lot of women feel way more balanced and better with both of those estrogens rather than just the estradiol.
And you said it again, the testing, the individualized results, not a formulated, on some baseline, like the one package fits all, that you do that and you can follow up with visits and more testing and really dial it in. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I've said to my patients before, I joke around, I'm like, of the hundreds of women I have on hormones, probably no two are on the same dosing of anything, right? Like it is really individualized, truly.
And the results are worth it. It's amazing. So if you would, this is a big question, so tackle it as you feel. Hormones, in my experience, and certainly with a lot of clients, affects everything, as you said, from mood to sex drive. That's one of the things couples come in with, men maybe, and women are just not into it. They don't have a libido anymore, or it's really reduced, or they're really dry. And so there are a lot of symptoms that I think affect people personally, which they don't even know are hormone related. So if you were able to describe not some of the other medical conditions that we can touch on, but hormonal drops, say in perimenopause, menopause, and the equivalent that men go through, what are the symptoms and what would you do with that? And then what would the results be? That's a big question.
Totally a huge question because it's so different person to person, but let's try to break it up. So perimenopause, a lot of women don't realize they're in perimenopause. Really, people can be in this perimenopausal state for like 10 years. So a lot of women are coming to me in maybe their late 30s, early 40s. They're still having a period once a month. They haven't changed much. They're not having hot flashes and night sweats. Everyone thinks that's like this pinnacle menopausal thing, right? But what they are having is, my shoulder really hurts. I think I have frozen shoulder and I'm really, really anxious all the time and I'm not sleeping really great. And maybe my husband and I are bickering all the time. I feel like my mood has changed. I don't feel like myself. It's just your hormones. So often people come in not realizing they're coming to me for hormones, especially younger women who are in this perimenopausal, phase, because it's not always so obvious. Like you said, anxiety, depression. Progesterone is really naturally anti-inflammatory. So as progesterone drops, people start having those aches and pains. Maybe they're getting more brain fog or just generalized fatigue. Progesterone is also a Zen hormone, so you stop sleeping as well. So it's really kind of elusive in the beginning, but if you know what to look for, pretty obvious. And usually getting women on hormones in perimenopause is incredible, not only for their quality of life in that stage of life, but it also makes menopause way easier. They don't end up in this big, like, I haven't slept in 5 years and my hot flashes keep me up all night. And, it hasn't affected my marriage yet because you're already on the hormones. So we just kind of tweak and increase and change your dose or add things in or take them away as we progress and as your hormones change. So it makes menopause way easier, which is also really nice. So that's kind of the perimenopausal thing. Also, with any of these, low libido is definitely kind of sprinkled in there, men and women. And then I also have the women who are coming to me who are in menopause. They have not had a period in a year, and they maybe do present with all those things I already said, but they also have the hot flashes and the night sweats and the weight gain, and their libido and their sex drive is nothing. And yeah, it hurts to have sex and dryness and pain. And so usually those women know that they're coming in with a hormonal issue, but it's not too late to get them on them. And really what I expect, I always do, like at an appointment, if we initiated hormones today at an appointment, I always do a 3 or 4 month follow-up. Really takes that long for the body to adjust, especially if we're adding in, possibly 3 different hormones, progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone. Takes some time for the body to adjust, but usually within that 3 or 4 months, I see a different person in front of me at that follow-up. It is a complete 180. And there's been a lot of tears shed in here, happy tears shed at that appointment of, oh my gosh, I was not expecting this to be such a life changer in the quality of life. And with women who are still having periods, if they are having really bad PMS or heavy bleeding or long periods, things like that, a lot of times HRT will help all that too. So periods become like clockwork, really easy. PMS goes away. Like they don't mind that they're still having a period because it's easy peasy. So that's something I expect in perimenopause. And then men, all encompassing with symptoms. Men, I see a lot of just, I don't feel motivated anymore. I know I should go to the gym. I know I should go work on the yard. I just don't want to, or my energy is just not where it should be. And then you have the more obvious low testosterone symptoms. I don't need to be 20 years old with my libido, but why do I just not care? Or any sort of erectile dysfunction. But with men too, I also see a big mental emotional component, meaning I have guys walk in that are like, I've never had anxiety. I didn't even know what that was, but suddenly, why am I anxious? So with men, that's a pretty easy, all right, let's look at your testosterone. But hormones play a part in everything. I've seen cholesterol go down when we get hormones balanced. I've seen blood sugar go down when I get hormones balanced. So it really affects everything head to toe. As
we grow older, we stop producing hormones at the levels that we do when we're young.
Yeah.
Do you take into consideration the age and what the respective hormone levels might be for a person that age?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with men, people assume more testosterone, the better. A lot of times that's not the case for men in terms of, yes, if you started out low or functionally low, we don't need to get you to 1200 or 1400 where you were at 18 years old, but getting you to 700, 800, we don't have to get you to that physiologic, really young men level, but usually we kind of find a sweet spot with men of like, I feel really good and I'm really happy with where I'm at. And it's similar with women too. The numbers I go by and testing's a little bit different if you're pre or post menopausal. So it's all a balance, but also I go based on how you're feeling. At the end of the day, if your testosterone's still a little low in my book, but you feel great and 100%, we don't need to increase your dose. Like,
so how you feel is the determining factor then.
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Because it's different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of the things I'm wondering if you see as a doctor, I see this with women when I see them individually and with men individually, especially in couples, because all the dynamics at the table. Well, I don't want sex. Well, you don't want sex. Or you're in a big mood all the time. Well, you're withdrawn, depressed, and back and forth. And when I ask about, have you had your hormones tested? I usually get the, look. And in women, I find what I see as almost an embarrassment. There's something about women admitting they're aging and that maybe their vagina is getting dry, like, oh, not me. Or that their libido is going down because there's so much pressure in relationship and culture for women to want to be on all the time. And the same for men. So there's an embarrassment, I think, a fear of admitting a denial about aging and feeling vulnerable and admitting these things. And especially for men who maybe don't even know that it's an issue for them. Do you see that? And how do you approach that?
Yeah, and it can be a touchy subject too, because it is people's relationships, and it also, some people don't like to talk about sex, and that feels really taboo and scary or shameful to say, like, my libido's low, because they think it's a reflection of their relationship or of their partner. So I've had a lot of conversations of like, listen, this is probably nothing out of your control, it's nothing in your control. Like, we need to, if we get all your hormones balanced and you're still not feeling attracted to your husband or wife, then okay, let's uncover some other things, right? And kind of delve into the mental emotional part of things. But like, a lot of times there's a reason, especially if you're telling me and sitting in my office crying of like, I do love my partner. It's not that, I don't want to be near them or touched by them. A lot of times there really is this black and white reason. So, my undergrad degree was half psychology, and that comes into play a lot in my day-to-day life of just kind of really piecing together how to communicate with my patients. And I always say, like, I've heard it all. There's nothing to be ashamed of in here. This is a safe place for you to share and open up about things. And whether we need other mental health professionals on board, sometimes that comes into play too. But a lot of times I do end up, seeing a female first for their hormones, and then their partner comes in a couple months later once they're feeling better. And we kind of can put together the pieces together because, intimacy is a lot more than just, what happens in the bedroom, obviously. But a lot of times, when we get quality of life better overall, right? Like you mentioned, mood throughout the day and all these things and stressors, getting those under control too. And getting hormones balanced usually makes for a much happier couple at the end of the day.
So do you find that emotional stress and that kind of unharmonious feeling that you might have due to various things that are out of your control or under your control, like a stressful job, deaths in the family, accidents, general worry about the world and things that are going on, can cause the problems that we're seeing in hormones?
At least part of it, absolutely. And interestingly enough, the saliva test that I order for women for hormones actually looks at their cortisol as well. Cortisol is our stress hormone. So, and this is a 2-in-1 saliva test because of how closely, especially for women, cortisol and our stress response is related to our hormones. So, I mean, even with much younger women in their teens or 20s, if they're stressed, their cycle goes haywire, right? Or you get sick and your cycle goes haywire, right? It's a perfect example of our hormones are affected by everything else in our day, what we eat, what we drink, our liver function, our stress, our cortisol. So I am always working on supporting the adrenal gland, supporting cortisol release. I can't tell people to quit their stressful jobs or, not be stressed when they get a bad phone call. But when we manage cortisol better, their stress response is usually a little bit more under control and reasonable, and that totally reflects in their hormones as well. And that goes through men too, of course.
Now, men will have, as far as I know, and what I've read, increased testosterone levels in the morning as opposed to at night.
Yeah.
Is that difference something that could be problematic? Say in the morning you feel great, ready to face the day. By the time you're ready to become intimate maybe, or have another something to do in the evening, you're out of testosterone. Does that ever happen?
Yeah, I can. And interestingly enough, usually I send men to the lab to get their testosterone drawn in the morning so that we can see their kind of peak. What is your body capable of producing? But I do have this conversation with men if we do get you on testosterone of what time of day should we even do this injection or cream? And a lot of times doing it at night, as long as it doesn't give you too much energy and interfere with your sleep, a lot of times doing it in the afternoon or evening does kind of help your body readjust and have that more sustained level of testosterone throughout the day. Of course, we want that kind of natural fluctuation. It has to do with our melatonin production and all that good stuff. So some men, if we go too high on their testosterone, they will tell me I'm not sleeping. So let's adjust. But absolutely, that comes into play too.
Oh, interesting.
You know, one of the things that was a part of my symptoms that the saliva test picked up was my cortisol levels. They were flipped. I wasn't sleeping well. They were the highest at midnight and the lowest at noon, and it should have been the exact opposite. And I didn't know that. Other doctors, would you like a sleep pill? Like, no, I don't want sleeping medication. I'd like to know what's going on causing this. So I think that's really important that you brought up the cortisol because I forgot to ask you. So thanks.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a huge part. And everyone walks in thinking they have high cortisol. High cortisol is like a really popular thing on social media these days. Most women are not high cortisol. Most women are totally burnt out because they had high cortisol sometime else in their life and then the adrenal glands never recovered. But cortisol really likes to improperly spike in the middle of the night, for example, and then you wake up and why am I wide awake? I feel like it's morning. I feel like I should go do some chores. Let's get that cortisol dampened down at nighttime. Let's get it supported to go up in the morning. Oh, and usually women have better energy throughout the day and sleep better when we get that cortisol regulated too.
Yeah, that's really important. Sleep affects so many things. So in the next few minutes, what would you want to tell people about hormones, or when should they come in? Kind of summarize, how would you test them? And then I know you follow up, like you said, afterwards. So it's not here's your test, here's your hormones, never see you again.
No.
What do you want to say to them, or maybe to prompt them to get tested?
Yeah, I think hormone replacement therapy is really misunderstood. It's kind of gotten a bad rap for many, many years. And luckily, I think the tides are finally shifting on that, which is phenomenal to be working in medicine at this time. It's really cool to see women get this care that they've been denied for so long. But I would say don't believe everything you see or read or have been told, maybe even from other healthcare practitioners about hormones. Always seek a second opinion in somebody that's actually specialized in them, whether it's me or somebody else. But that's, at Premier, we do these like 10 to 15 minute phone calls before you commit to a new patient appointment. And a lot of times those are spent with women like, dispelling these myths that they've heard of. I can't take hormones because my distant aunt had breast cancer and I'm at high risk, or I can't take hormones because my doctor told me I'm going to get cancer or have a stroke, okay, let's back that up. Let's actually talk about the research. So don't believe everything you see or hear. The earlier, the better. You're going to get more benefit the earlier you start hormones. But if you've already kind of passed your perimenopausal window, you've already stopped having periods, even if you're outside of those menopausal symptoms, you're not having your hot flashes anymore, you're feeling okay hormonally, but you're still tired, you're still brain fogged, your libido's non-existent, it's not too late. Hormones affect literally everything, and you don't have to be in menopause or in perimenopause. The earlier, the better, but it's never too late. And really, just come in open-minded. This is a totally different experience to see a naturopathic doctor than any other provider. I have patients coming in who I can tell when they sit down, they've just been frustrated by the healthcare system. They've had 15-minute appointments, they've been brushed aside. You're allowed to tell me one symptom today and we can deal with one chief complaint. We spend an hour together at our first visit. We go literally head to toe. I'm going to ask you questions you've never thought about or, seem unrelated to your complaints. We are going to go through your entire health history. And then, like you said, I'm here to be your cheerleader and your educator and your supporter. I also always have more tricks up my sleeves. So if something's not working, don't give up. Come back. Let's talk about it. Let's figure out what's going on. I have never turned somebody away because I just was, I don't know what to do now. We tried everything. So there's always other options, not one size fits all medicine. And yeah, I'm always just going to be in your corner to support you and get you feeling better.
And I'm really glad you're at the clinic. One of the things I noticed that before you came along, Dr. Hoffman being a man, some women would say, well, can I go to a woman?
Yeah.
And the men would be more apt to go to the man. So just letting viewers know, Dr. Ali is at Premier Integrative Clinic in Santa Rosa. And as we mentioned in the intro, that's where she is. And Justin Hoffman is there. He's a man if men want to go to a man. But as you can see, she knows what she's talking about. She's an expert. And the people that I've referred to love you. They just think it's a joy working with you. And we will make sure everyone has the name of the clinic. And you can treat patients in California, but I know you can consult with patients outside of the state.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a gray area, but we do our best to do what we can with people who are out of state. That's what I was going to mention too. Yes, absolutely. I see men and women. Dr. Hoffman sees men and women. So sometimes there's definitely a comfort level on the patient side, but we are comfortable with anyone. I am in person every single day in the clinic. So whether or not somebody wants an in-person visit, sometimes that's really important. Vice versa too. People are like, I'm out of, the county or state or whatever. And we both do virtual. Dr. Hoffman does pretty primarily virtual. So we're super, we just want to help. So we're happy to do that in any way that we can connect.
And so you are okay if any of our viewers want to call you, and we will post the number?
Absolutely.
Taking on some new patients and spreading your great smile and your expertise.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Well, anything else you want to ask, Dr. Ali? What we have?
I'm curious about natural ways to boost your hormone levels. And, as a man, you see online constant ads for testosterone boosting supplements.
Yeah.
Well, is that smoke and mirrors, or do we need to see a professional? Suspect that we have.
Yeah, I would say before you start on any of the fancy things online, to at least get a baseline of where your testosterone was to start. That way we can test in the future and see if those supplements have done anything for you. But no, some of them are pretty legit and they work really well. It kind of depends too, like I said, on where you start. If you're kind of in the middle on the fence of needing testosterone replacement, sometimes the natural things are all you need to kind of shoot those numbers up and get symptom relief. If you're really, really low, it might do something, but might not be enough to see a difference. But yeah, some of them really do work, but getting a baseline first is really helpful just for the longevity of it.
Okay. I think one of the oldest remedies, right, is the Rocky Mountain oyster method. Is there any credence to that?
The claims that they're pretty immediate. So, listen, it's all kind of natural forms of medicine, right? Food is medicine. So find something that works for you. More power to you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not going to, I'm a vegetarian.
You're a vegetarian.
Well, maybe somebody out there will get that advice.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ali. We'd love to have you back on again.
You.
We really appreciate it. And I encourage any of you who have questions to say we will provide her contact information to reach out to her. And it changed my life to have this work and to have my bioidentical hormones. And so thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course. I hear that all the time. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you again.
Yeah.
Well, that was wonderful, as we expected, and I had so many more questions I wanted to ask, but we ran out of time.
So many more questions. So yeah, interesting topic, and I think it is also good to note that your symptoms, whatever is ailing you, might be related to hormones, might not, but definitely see a doctor and get some blood work done to see those levels. And
your saliva test, as we heard from Dr. Ali, the blood work doesn't tell us necessarily what we need. And most allopathic doctors won't even order a saliva test. I've had them ask me, why a saliva test? What's that for? And I can tell you, as I mentioned when talking to Dr. Ali, that in my life, allopathic medicine, which is your MD traditional medicine, has been great for certain diagnostics and tests. But when it comes to things like this, they've not helped me very much at all. It's been the naturopathic physicians that have done the proper testing necessary in order to diagnose and individualize a treatment plan.
Yeah, so there you go.
Well, as a man,
naturopathic.
did you learn something?
Well, I had been aware of some of these things before. I don't think that I'm deprived of any hormones, but as I do age, I probably am losing some of my hormones. But folks, eat well, get plenty of sleep, exercise, and you're probably going to stave off a lot of your problems. But then again, there's always the stress of life in our modern world that's going to take its toll on you and your psychology and your hormone levels.
Well, and hormone levels are impacted by our environment and our life, but not only that, there is a natural decrease in hormones in general in life, regardless of whether you have a high, quality lifestyle and health management at all. And I think that's one of the hard things for a lot of people is they're embarrassed to want to admit they're getting older and need help, or admit to someone that their sex drive is gone or they're depressed. But I think also people don't realize exactly, what is involved with health and hormonal health, and are afraid or surprised to dive into it further and get the information they need. So please do that. Premier Integrative Medicine is in Santa Rosa, California. And as we said, you can call them or you can contact Dr. Alley, and here's the number for Dr. Alley and or Dr. Justin Hoffman, which a lot of men like to go to. So Dr. Alley is a wonderful physician. I have clients of mine that are men that see her and just love her. So either Dr. Hoffman or Dr. Alley at Premier Integrative Clinic. The number to call for information or to set an appointment is 707-888-4191, and they are in Santa Rosa, California, and they can treat and see patients in California, but they can also consult with people outside of California. So I encourage you to reach out to both of them. There are 5 physicians there working from the clinic, and it's the premier, that's the name, it's the #1 naturopathic integrative medical clinic in all of Sonoma County.
Yeah, and highly recommended, folks. Dr. Alley definitely knows her stuff and can help you out. So yeah, I'm looking forward to
More, right?
more information on this. This is so cool.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, please put them in the comments or email us at shredandsoul@gmail.com. I know this has helped me, and I hope it's helped me in my life to work with someone like Dr. Alley and be treated that way. I do put out the disclaimer that Dr. Justin Hoffman is my son and he owns the clinic, but that is not why we're having this testimonial. I have her on because I know how much it's helped me and still helps me in my life radically more than allopathic medicine. And not that I don't value allopathic medicine. I've had series of MRIs and testing lately, and they've been great at providing testing and diagnostics. But as far as treatment goes for things, I personally prefer naturopathic medicine.
Yeah. I liked how she mentioned that she'll spend an hour interviewing
Yes.
you. The healthcare that I usually get is 20 minutes.
If
and
that.
If that. And,
Yeah.
I usually go in with a laundry list of complaints, and I might get 1 or 2 of them out,
Mhm.
but they're watching the time,
I know.
kind of running you through.
The
So
last appointment I had, which was a Zoom appointment with a doctor, it was supposed to be 20 minutes. And in about 15 minutes, they said, well, I have to move on. And we'd barely gotten to my question. So yes, an hour is your appointment. Imagine what it's like to have someone listen to you and respond to you and hear you for an hour.
mhm, yeah.
Yeah. So
Big
again,
difference.
it's Premier Integrative Medical Clinic, 707-888-4191. Let us know how it goes. So see
Okay.
you later.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.